I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand pretty sisters, senior transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, and everyone for giving me this opportunity today to learn to speak, to discuss, talk about chapter 79 of the classic of the way and the virtue. Okay, so this is a rather short, it's a relatively short chapter, one of the shortest chapters. Okay, the chapter title is called Left. Literally, it's left contract, or the left portion of a contract. We'll explain that a little bit later. It's divided. It's only 9 phrases long. It's divided into 4 sections. So this first section, the first 3 phrases. The first section, he's asking a question, and he is talking about basically disputes. Any type of disputes. And disputes is a specific, you can say specific subset of contention, right? So this chapter is a further, you can say further expansion of chapter 68. Okay, non-contention. Okay, about contention. All right. Okay, so basically, this first 3 phrases talking about that disputes have lasting effects. Believe it or not, even though you may reconcile, you may be disputes may be settled, a contention dispute may be settled, but internally there could be still some lingering resentment. You have feelings, because that's part of human nature, right? We still have feelings, and okay, and then so he's saying that that's not a good thing. Okay, and then the 4th and 5th phrase is talking about how a sage would act. Okay, say and it's talking about, this is where the title of the chapter is about the left contract, the left part of the contract. Okay, all right. This is where it's talking about what a sage. The left part, that the contract has to do with lending and borrowing money. Okay, in this case. Okay, I mean more specific case, lending and borrowing. Okay, I mean money is the typical this terminology, this term this term is used for lending. Okay, in lending. Okay, for lending, but in from Lao's perspective, it could be generalized too. Okay, but anyway, but that's okay. So talk about the lending and how the sage would act in this lending and borrowing process, or okay, or part of the contract. And then he's talking about using the lending borrowing process as a metaphor for in life how humans exchange and interact with each other. Okay, so that's the metaphor from the lending and borrowing. Okay, and then the last 2 phrases, 8 and 9, talks about, he's focusing on the Tao itself, and how the Tao is impersonal, right? It has no emotions, but it's the Tao are like the immutable or unchanging spiritual laws and principles, and it reflects, in others, that the Tao, through the mechanism of chapter 73, right? The heavenly net, right? Heavenly net, chapter 3, 70 net, reflects the like for the like. Okay, reflects the like for the like, or like chapter 77, partly, the heavenly Tao, how the Tao always will add to the few, right, and take away from the excess, right? Okay, something like that. All right. Okay. So all right. So that's the overview. It's a short chapter, so I don't think I need to read through this. We'll go through it in the outline. Okay, so let's go to the outline. The outline, first section. All right. Okay. After settling a dispute, a great dispute, there must be remaining resentments. So how can this be considered as good? All right. So this is a very important word. I mean, as part of the key, how can I say, key principle a key concept behind the Tao Te Ching. Okay, it literally means harmony, peace. Okay, it could also that's as a noun. Okay, it can also be a verb to blend, and in this case to reconcile, to settle something, to calm down. Okay, to calm down. All right. Okay. So all right, and this is another word that we have to. Okay, so yuan, it's pronounced yuan. Okay, it means okay, this is pronounced he. So when we say 和平, it means peace. Okay, I mean that's more okay, but this is more general. Okay, all right. So this word yan means literally it means blame, complaint, contention. It can mean dispute. Okay, friction, grievance. It can mean to blame, to him. Okay, so it's a noun and verb. All right. Okay, so what the meaning is, okay, and what else? Let's see. Okay, so that's okay. So basic meaning of these two phrases. Okay, it's this. Okay, that's the first two here. Okay, that's these two phrases. Okay, all right. Is that ancient sages, okay, recognize that there is no such thing as complete or total 100% reconciliation after settling a great dispute in life, because it's part of human nature to still have some lingering resentment within one's mind. Okay, so Lao Tzu understood that that's part of human nature. All right, okay, all right. So after a dispute has been settled, there'll always be some negativity remaining in the mind because that's part of our human nature. All right, so after a dispute has been reconciled or settled, then everything may seem reconciled externally. Yeah, you guys are not fighting, you guys are not bickering, you guys are not right, argue, disputing or whatever, because you reconcile, you settled a dispute or something. Okay, some kind of contentious matter, but internally within there still will be some kind of resentment. Okay, one side might feel they got less than what they wanted, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So it's almost like a zero-sum game. Okay. So in real life, after a dispute, it is human. Okay. After it is human nature to outwardly say the slate is clean. Okay. Yeah. The slate is clean. We're clean. But inwardly, there could still be resentment, some kind of lingering or lasting or remaining resentment because we cannot wipe the slate clean. Okay. So now let's go to the last phrase, which is that, okay, externally, on the external side, okay, even though a great dispute has been settled, but internally, there will still be some remaining resentment, then this is not really considered good at all. No matter how a dispute is resolved, there still will be bad blood on one side or the other, or probably both. See, so that's what Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu is looking at from the ideal, and that's what goes back to this concept of harmony and non-contention, right? That's so chapter 68, we talked about non-contention, right? Chapter 68, right? If you review that chapter, all right? Okay, so so that's what Lao Tzu is looking at from that. You can say from the ideal perspective, actually the Tao perspective, because Tao doesn't contend, right? Okay, all right. So because it is human nature that we cannot wipe the slate clean completely, then it is not considered a good thing, even though we may have settled a dispute externally. Yeah. Okay. All right. So internally, this is one thing to remember, is that whenever there's resentment within one's mind, then one cannot practice goodness. That's why Lao Tzu was getting at, said, even, you have a dispute, it's been settled, okay, externally, let's say you agreed, I don't know, to whatever agreement is, but internally, there's still this, within one's mind, there's still this lingering, I don't know, remaining, resentment or, whatever, feeling of, of not, not getting the best deal or whatever, or feeling, just right. It could be feeling of hurt too. Okay. All right. So that by having that type of feelings, thoughts, then it's difficult to practice goodness. Okay, all right. So that's why it's not good. All right. And now let's back to where it holds. Okay, so this is why sages do not wish for any contention. You can say dispute, right? Contention is broader, right? Contention just means it could be broad, right? Contention, to contend, you can say, I don't want to say competition because you can say there's a slight overlap with competition. Okay, you can say that. Okay, so there's slight, because actually, sages do not strive or contend, with anybody. Okay, or compete. Okay, so recall, because the sages do not contend, the world cannot contend with them. Right? That's from chapter 22. Okay, chapter 22, 13, 14. Okay, all right. And then the last two phrases of chapter 66 also. Ocean, rivers and ocean. All right. So it's almost the exact phrase. It's just that they use these two different phrases in the first phrase. I mean, these two characters in the phrase. Okay. So, all right. So that's why, it's going back to that point, right? That sages do not like to contend or, just contend, dispute, or anything. Right. Okay. All right. Also, there's a line that says this virtue of non-contention is the highest harmony and the highest principle of sages. Where did that come from? That just came from chapter 68. All right, chapter 68. Okay. All right. It is called the virtue of non-contention. It's called being harmonious to heaven, the ultimate principle of the sages. All right. That's the last three phrases of or first, second, and fourth last phrases of chapter 68. All right. Okay. So that's what it goes back to. All right. Also, is kind of reiterating. All right. So internally, it's human nature, all right, to still harbor, have some lingering resentment, even or feelings, okay, after a great dispute has been reconciled externally. Okay. So this is not considered as good. All right. As good. Okay. This is still not considered as good, even though everything seems settled, right, externally, right? Okay. Thus, it is here's the important thing. It is advisable. Lao Tzu is trying to get at, is telling us it is better to resolve all disputes or contentions before they get out of hand. This is one of the major reasons sages refrain from debates, okay, arguments, debates, okay, because there's bound to be negative feelings after a debate. All right. Okay, so when there is contention, okay, or when there's resentment, goodness cannot emerge. So, all right, so that's the important thing, okay, because that's what sages understood, Lao Tzu understood. All right, so there's, okay, now people say, well, look at democracy, look at our, our, I don't know, free speech and all that stuff, right? It's good to have debates, right? Because because we learn in school that, hey, in a democracy, you have opposing sides or various voices, different voices, debating about what's the best, what's best for society or whatever, okay, or best way to rule, best way to implement something, right? To execute a policy or do whatever, right? I mean, that's what we say, right? We have debate. Look at school, we have debating clubs and all that stuff, right? Debate teams and all that stuff, debate competition. Isn't that what we have? Look at the, the election process, right? There's a bunch of debates, that's between two sides or three sides or whatever, okay? Well, what Lao is getting at is that it's not the debate, it's really discussion that's different, okay? So let's go to Appendix A. It's really discussion, not debate, okay? So let's go to Appendix A, okay? All right, okay. So differences between debates or debate and discussion. Okay, so I have two columns. One's the popular belief, that's fiction, and the other one's the reality. Okay, all right. So the popular belief about what's a debate and the reality of what a debate is. All right. Okay, so we say, yeah, democracy thrives on healthy, vigorous debates. Right. That's what most people say that, right? A lot of people say that anyway. Okay. The reality is, no, it's not really based on rigorous debates, okay? Actually, it's civil discussions. Civil. The key is civil. I should underline this, but anyway, civil discussions and good communication. That means it's understanding of both perspectives, trying to understand why the other side or other people have to believe that they believe in, or how and why they believe what they believe in. Okay, so they hold those views. Okay, so that's the understanding, the communication, the good understanding. Okay, so you can say it's like the meeting of the minds or whatever. That's the reality. That's where really democracy thrives on, not on debates. So look at today. Look at how, we have debates. We have so much debates. Look how polarized the country is. It gets even worse. It goes even more extreme, right? People double down, triple down, whatever. Okay, so that's not discussion. That's debate. Okay, so all right. Second one, say, oh well, some of the more, I don't know. This is more the intellect, the more, I don't know, people who use the principle said, hey, I have an obligation to dispel, misconceptions and truth. Others must know the truth. There's this, urge, right? Especially you see some certain commentators, a lot of this come from religious people, because they think they are the keepers of the moral truth or morality or whatever. All right. Okay. Or moral principles, and some other people. They believe that they're the ones that know more than everybody else or anybody else, whatever. And so, it's their obligation, to speak for the truth, to stand for a certain principle, whatever. Okay. All right. Well, actually, from that sage perspective, that's a very egocentric view. Okay. And so that's why the reality is, this sounds like the ego talking. Okay. That the ego, the truth, what's morally correct, what's the moral principle is. So, so you gotta speak out and defend it, well, actually, it's really the ego, okay, that's speaking. All right. Okay. It's not really the Tao speaking, because the Tao just is. It lets, it does so without needing to speak out. Okay. Okay. All right. So all right. So that's where the soft and weak comes in. All right. Okay. All right. So this is a strong position right here. This one. Okay. This is a strong, taking a very hard, rigid, strong view, strong position. Right. Yeah. That's what this is. Right. It's not weak. It's definitely not weak. It's not soft, because you're speaking out. Right. You're railing, you're ranting, saying, hey, blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, that's really your ego. Okay. All right. Third point, both sides will come away. The thing about a debate, one of the benefits or one of the outcomes of the debate is that both sides will come away with new ideas, insights. Yeah, isn't that the purpose of debate? It's a very dialectical. See, this thing about the debate is very dialectical, very dialectical. Okay. So it's like very science. It's like science. Science is very dialectical. Okay. But it's like using the scientific method. Okay. So they figure, because that's how science progresses. Science is that somebody comes with a theory. Okay, comes up with a theory or an axiom or axiom or some kind of hypothesis, and then other people, other scientists, other researchers, if you will, come up with counter hypotheses, counter theories, etc. And then they test them. They test, to see, hey, if this theory is correct, if that theory, they replicate, they try to replicate, experiment, right? Do experiment. And then they come up with new insights, a new understanding says, well, the first theory or first hypothesis, got this right, but, it didn't get that right. And then the counter theory got that right, but didn't get this right. And so we come with a new understanding, and then we merge the two, and then we come up with a new hypothesis, new theory built upon those two, and then the process repeats. That's the dialectic process. That's actually the scientific, it's called the scientific methodology and reasoning. I think, what's his name? Thomas Hobbes, I think first talked about it, or actually probably goes back earlier, probably even to Plato. But anyway, all right. So that's the idea. So when among humans, we have debates, and that's the whole idea. One side picks a view, and then you have the opposing side, right? That's what a debate is all about, right? And so the whole idea is that, hey, both sides will come up with new sides. I mean, that's the understanding, or that's the goal, if you will. But actually, both sides end up more entrenched than ever. All right, both sides, double down. Says, okay, even more. All right. So that's the problem. Okay, that's the problem with debates. All right. Okay, so that's the problem. All right. Okay. Now, also, people praise and respect me for being a skillful debater. The person who's debating. All right. Okay. All right. Actually, okay, you think you are, people will say, actually, a lot of people think you are just arrogant or being a very, very egocentric, egotistical. Is that? I don't know if that's the right word. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's the thing. All right. So that's why sages don't like to debate. Okay. They don't. They really, because that even if, like we say, oh, but look at the scientific method, it works because look how far we progress in science. But here's the thing about scientific method. It applies maybe to, science principles, you can say the laws of physics, or, laws of nature or whatever. But we're not dealing with human beings. Human beings have emotions, have feelings, have independent thoughts. And that's the problem. So if you apply the scientific method or this dialectic approach, which is an adversarial approach, actually. Okay. Anyway, because it tries to counter, it's counter, right? It's argument or hypothesis, counter hypothesis, then counter hypothesis, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The problem is some people could have resentment, lingering resentment. Okay. And so that's the problem. All right. So what's the basis of a discussion versus the basis of a debate? Okay. The basis of discussion. Okay. So actually it's really a dialogue. It's really a dialogue, an exchange of ideas. People say, well, that's what a debate is. That's true. Okay. But more importantly, it's meeting of the minds. It's a two-way communication. It's, you can say, self-expression and clarification. That means it's explained. You have to explain your perspective and listen to the other side's perspective. Okay, so that's it. You can say debate also does that, but debate doesn't try to understand. Okay, and that's the thing right here. It's this. It's the whole idea of discussion. The whole goal or the aim of discussion is to seek common ground. Okay, to better understand how the other side can believe the way that it does. Okay. So it's not ego-driven. You only want to have the optimal solution. In other words, you want to strive to have a win-win situation. Okay, win-win outcome. That's the whole idea of a discussion. Otherwise, it's not a discussion. If one side loses and the other side wins, so that's a zero sum. That's not really a discussion. That's a debate. That's what a debate is. Okay. All right. So the discussion is non-adversarial. It's a non-confrontational approach. That's what a discussion is. Okay. So that's what a discussion. All right. It has to be non-adversarial. That's why it's civil. Okay. And non-confrontational. All right. Okay. Now, what's a debate? What's a debate? Debate is actually a clash, a fight, okay, a contention of conflicting views, different views, okay? That's a battle for supremacy. In other words, it's winner takes all. It's a zero-sum game, okay? There's no two winners in a debate, okay? It's only two sides, okay? There's only one side is a winner, the other side is a loser, okay? All right, so that's what a debate is, all right? Then what's the goal of the debate? Is to seek domination through words, okay, instead of fists, okay, all right? It highlights differences, proving the other side is wrong. So it's very ego-driven, right? That's the whole idea behind debate, right? I don't know if people in school have been in debate clubs or whatever, they teach you different methods of debate. Especially they use this a lot in courts, okay, in the court system, because the U.S. court, well, most Western, I guess most judicial systems in the world are based on adversarial approach, right? You have the prosecutor, and then you have the defense attorney, right? And they basically are debating, trying to debate in front of the jury to convince them, hey, my side is right, the other side is wrong, et cetera, all right? Okay, so that's what it is. So it's very ego-driven, all right? So it's a very adversarial and confrontational approach. And that's basically what our government is like, or you can say our government is like. It's purely adversarial now. It's free speech. Yeah, it's very confrontational, right? It's based purely on confrontation. So, and it's therefore, and now there are, I'm not saying that it's totally negative. There could be potential good outcomes if it's not this, if it's not this, and if it's not this, okay? If it's not this, okay? If it's not that, yeah, then that would be like the scientific method, okay? Yeah, we can try to, get new insight, new understanding, blah, blah, move on. The problem is debates tend to be very this, okay? Adversarial. And therefore, what? Right? The very first section we talk about, their second line, there must be remaining resentment. There could be resentment, feelings, hurt, and then that leads to more entrenchment, okay, double down, et cetera, et cetera. And then that's because it's ego driven, okay? And so that's the problem with the debate, all right? Okay, so let's go back. All right, so that's why Lao Tzu is not, does not advocate debating, okay? He never advocated in all the 81 chapters that you've read. I don't think he mentioned, hey, it's good to debate, or that's the way to debate. That's the way to get new understanding, towards enlightenment. That's we should debate. Well, that's not the case. All right, okay. So the key is this. Actually, the key is more towards towards harmony and okay, harmony and be like water. Okay, all right, okay. So here's the thing. Okay, so the key is not to have a dispute or have contention in the first place, because even if outwardly there is reconciliation after great dispute or debate or contention, there will still be some remaining resentment within. So this is not considered as a good thing or as an ideal thing, okay? So what happens is this, okay? When a dispute happens, a Tao cultivator would take action to work on it, okay? Or sage, But this is done with the realization that the cultivator has failed to see the dispute coming and failed to handle it with proactive and preventive steps while the issue is still small. See, so that's where we have to be mindful, okay, as Tao cultivators. The key is that we should try not to descend or reach reach the situation where it becomes an outright debate or dispute. Then that means we have failed, actually. That means that we really have failed, okay? That means that we fail to see. What does that mean? It means that we fail to see or realize that, hey, a potential dispute is coming, and we did not prevent it from having it happen or getting it out of hand. Like what? Make a mound out of an anthill, something like that. Some ideas like that. Okay, all right. Okay, so remember in chapter 64, act on it when it has not yet begun. Treat it when it is not yet chaotic. Right. That refers in this case. It's more broad. This is more broader. Okay, but the key is that we should act on it when it's be preventive. Do things to prevent something from becoming a dispute, okay, or debate or whatever. All right. Okay. So that's all right. So this is from chapter 64. All right. Okay. So Lao Tzu is telling us that the most ideal situation, actually the more Tao-centric, that's what it means, is the Tao-centric view is not to have debates or disputes in the first place. This is why non-contention is so important, why harmony is the highest principle of sages. Okay, and that's where we're gonna talk about section 2. I don't have time here. Dang. Okay, let's go to here. All right. You guys know, okay, here, this is what it means. 左气, that's what that literally means. Left, qi. Qi means, okay, literally, it's ancient use. It's a contract, a deed. It's a carved inscription, or it means to get. Also, it means some people translate it to get along well. I mean, it does mean that literally. So some people translate this title as I mean, well, left part getting away. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, so what the specific meaning of this left bond, left part of contract is this. It's in ancient China. I think that's why if those who are not familiar with the Chinese culture or history, ancient history. It's this, okay? It's a contract that's recorded. Now, this also happened way back before the invention of paper. I mean, okay. I mean, continue after invention of paper, but even before that, it's a contract that's recorded on a piece of bark, on the bark of a tree or on a piece of wood, or okay, with two halves. So when the deal has been agreed to, the contract is then split down the middle, where the lender keeps the left half. That's therefore the left part. Okay, that's the lender's copy. Or you can say that's like a copy. Okay, lender's copy of the contract. And the right half is kept by the borrower. Okay. So the left half is the lender's proof of the right to demand payment. Okay, they split down the middle. Okay, this thing. Okay, so when the loan was fully paid by the borrower, the lender then would give the left half of the contract back to the borrower. So thus making the contract whole. So then the restorer contract then became the borrower's proof that the loan was fully repaid. Okay, makes sense? All right. So now, because the split along the middle of the contract, like a piece of bark, even paper, okay, is uneven. They don't use the scissors. They just, tear it down. Okay, split down. So this uneven split serves as the perfect and natural way to authenticate the contract, because the forged left half would not match the right half. You get? So it's like taking $100 bill, you tear it in the middle, right? The split is not a straight line, right? It's jagged. So that's how you can match the two pieces. You get it? So then, hey, that makes a whole, right? So same thing in the contract. So it's a pretty, smart way, interesting way. Anyway, okay, because they'll say they don't have copying machines. Okay. Anyway, all right. So, all right, that's what left contract means. Okay. So understand about that. So the left is the lender. It's the lender. Okay. This is almost like accounting. You have the debits and credits, those T accounts, right? Debits and credits, they have to balance, right? All right. So anyway, all right. So let's look at the basic meaning of this line. Is that, okay, this is a metaphor, okay? For he says, right, the sage holds the left part of the contract. So this is a metaphor for the sage that has provided benefits, like the loan, right? In terms of advice, suggestions, wisdom, etc., help, assistance to other people, who the sage is the benefactor of people. Yet the sage does not demand repayment from the people who have benefit. Okay, so on the external level, okay, a sage is someone who incurs an obligation in other people to repay his kindness, or assistance, or whatever. Okay, wisdom, whatever, but does not require people to repay the kindness. How is this so? Because the sage is someone who benefits others unconditionally, without attachments, without any sense of ego, without arrogance, without self-approval, without self-assertion, presumption, without self-display or self-praise, right? That's what a sage is, right? Okay, so internally, the sage is our Buddha nature, right? It provides us all this divine wisdom and myriad uses or benefit that benefits us, yet it does not ask anything in return from us, right? The Buddha nature doesn't say to us, hey, you owe me a favor or whatever, for giving you this insight, wisdom, or for letting, us use its functions or whatever, okay? So it doesn't do that, all right? Okay, so on an external level, okay, sages are constantly helping people. So people hold them a debt of gratitude. So people hold them, yeah, okay, so people hold them. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. So people, yeah, I guess, okay, hold. So sages are like lenders who hold the left part of the loan contract. But sages do not wish to be repaid. right? They help people because it is the natural and right thing to do, not because they want some sort of compensation, right? That's what a sage. Now, internally, it's our Buddha nature, right? That acts naturally without attachments and provides us with all its benefits and uses without asking for anything in return. Okay, so the key is that even though sages play the role of the lender, that's to hold the left part of the contract, they make no effort to collect anything. They also help people without any conditions or attachments or whatever, so as not to incur future karma. All right, so sages also understand that the lending and borrowing process can lead to disputes, right? So, right, okay, so, right, I mean, right, I mean, not all the time, but there's potential, right? People, disagree on the terms or how much they owe or they lent or whatever, okay? So sages do not seek compensation for their help, nor reproach them, all right? So at the personal level, okay, especially comes with lending, okay, lending and borrowing, okay? Even more serious is the damaging effect that has a long on personal relationship. So we got to be careful, right? I mean, we can see how many friendships were broken due to, what, people borrowing from between friends or whatever, right? Yeah, it could lead to disputes or whatever, or when you're going to pay me back, or, I want to pay back with interest, whatever, okay? So that's what it's very, all right. I mean, Lao Tzu does not say specifically, but there's one, you can say, takeaway, or one, we can extrapolate from Lao Tzu's position on this about personal lending or borrowing between friends, and that that's could be very. It's not. I don't think if Lao Tzu, if you were to ask Lao Tzu directly, I don't think he would recommend it. Okay, that you should lend and borrow among friends. I think because we can extrapolate from that's not going to have a good outcome. All right, so let's go to part A, summarize, and this should be the last. Okay, so let's incorporate harmony in our life. All right, so let's look for harmony, and you will find it. How? To avoid conflict, avoid confrontation, avoid debate, avoid friction, avoid contention, okay? So be the peacemaker. Be the one who calms everybody down, who diffuses explosives to hit. Don't add fuel to the fire, okay? You should add water to the fire, okay? So that's what it is, okay? That's what we should do. Bring peace with you into any situation. Be the person of peace, of calm, of tranquility. All right. Okay. So the virtue of non-contention is being harmonious in one's mind. Okay. That's internally, and with others externally. That's being harmonious with heaven. That's the oneness of the Tao, the ultimate principle of the ages. Okay. Also, provide help without expectations. Right. That's where the Wu Wei, the non-condition, non-attachment comes from. Be like the sages. Hold the left part of the contract without using it to demand anything back, right? So that's what we should try to emulate, right? And we should provide assistance to others without attachments, condition, ego, expectations, etc. All right, okay, so that's that. Okay, so that's we're done with the summary. Let's go back. Okay, okay, all right. So we're at the third section. Okay, so those who have virtue hold the contract. Those without virtue hold the collections. Okay, what does that mean? So it just means this. Okay, it just means that those who seek, those who assist others. That's the left part, right? Yeah, because you're lending, right? That's a metaphor. Right? The metaphor for lending means you're helping others, you're assisting others. So, but they do not seek repayment are virtuous, while those who seek repayment, that's holding the collection document, that's really the right part. Okay, sorry, it's not the right part. Still holding the left, but you're collecting, you're seeking collection. They lack virtue. Okay, now this word, this is 测. Okay, this word 测. Literally, it's a verb. It's a verb. It means a verb. It means to pass through, to penetrate. Okay, to be pervasive. In this context, it means you want to collect. You want to collect it. You want to get the payment of debt. All right. Okay, so that. Right. So now, why is this so? Why did Lao Tzu say, hey, those who help others but don't seek repayment are virtuous, have virtue, whereas those who seek payment, repayment are not virtuous. Why? Because those who help others without expecting repayment. Okay, now we're talking about lending and borrowing, in this case, money, but also it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for, it could be recognition, it could be reward, compensation, etc., etc. Okay, they are virtuous. Why? Because they are like the sages who act without attachments or conditions, right? That's why. Well, those who help others but expect repayment of some kind, that is having expectations or conditions, right? They're not like sages, right? They're not, because they have what? Conditions, okay? So here's what it means is that while holding the collection document, that's the left part, right? Now, and expecting to be repaid is normal. Yeah, we say, hey, that's normal. That's part of the contract, right? That's part of that. Now, this is having an expectation. That's a condition, right? It's a condition, right? It's a type of condition. That's not like a sage. So this lacks virtue, okay? So that's what this is, all right? Okay, so now here that's to do with karma. It has something to do with karma, okay? So when you have given non-attached or non-conditioned assistance to others, they do still owe you, even though you do not expect any repayment. That's the law of causality or karma, okay? Karma states that even when you help people and you don't expect any payment, but on the other side, the person, the benefit, the party that's benefited, they still owe you. That's what law of karma says, okay? Now, they still owe you, even though you do not expect that. Now, but what actually it transcends, I want to say transcends karma. The benefit, the reward, or you say the merit, transcends karma in the sense that it's the highest form of merit and virtue. Okay, that's the highest merit and virtue. That's what we say 功德, right? I mean, that there's a class on that, right? There's a topic on that. 功德, if you want to strictly translate, it's virtuous merit. Okay, it's called virtuous because your assistance, right, that benefited the other party, okay, is non-conditioned, non-attached. Okay, that's the key. All right. So the loan or debt of money is a metaphor for all the things that people exchange during that. Okay, so it doesn't have to be money. It could be just, it could be kindness, it could be loving kindness, care, assistance, etc., etc. All right. Okay, compassion, whatever. The key is it has to be non-attached, non-conditioned. In other words, in this chapter, it would be Lao Tzu saying they do not expect repayment. That's what it means. Okay. All right. So to hold the contract, the left part, okay, in this context means you have rendered assistance to others. So from a karmic perspective, they owe you. Yeah, people owe you, do owe you from a karmic perspective. But giving assistance to others without expecting repayment means you have acted without attachment or conditions. All right. So this is to be sage-like, to be, like a sage, right? Sage to that. Okay. So on the internal side, though, it means this. It means be in accordance with our Buddha nature. Okay, that's what a sage is like, right? That is to hold the collection document in this kind of means you wish to be paid for what you have done. This implies having conditions. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so sorry. These two go together. Okay, these two. One's external, one's internal. All right. One's actually when you in your actions externally, in society or to you are like a sage, but internally you are in accordance with your Buddha nature. Okay, without that's without condition. Okay, now to hold the collection, okay, document in this context means you wish to be repaid for what you have done. So this implies having conditions, right? Okay, so this lending borrowing process is not just restricted to money, but it's a metaphor for all the exchanges interactions in life, such as recognition, visibility, to satisfy, etc. Okay, so just a metaphor, okay, to understand the lending and the lending and borrowing. Okay, right. So the key is this: those who hold, okay, the left contract or the left part without expecting recognition, repayment, reward, etc. That's being non-conditioned, are virtuous because they emulate the sages. That is, they're being aligned with one's Buddha nature. All right. Okay. So while those who gave assistance to others and expect repayment, that is holding the collection document, have conditions, whether they have attachments to their ego, they have conditions on repayment, rewards, etc. So they lack virtue because they do not emulate the sages. That is, they're not aligned with the Buddha nature. All right. Okay. So here's the last phrase, last line. Okay, so the last line is that the heavenly Tao has no favorites. It constantly gives to the kind people. All right. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So the basic meaning is that the Tao is impersonal, emotionless. It's like natural laws. So it cannot play favorites, the Tao. All right. Another meaning is this, right? Think of the Tao as immutable spiritual laws or principles without feelings, emotions, or passions, right? Recall the Tao, the great Tao is without preference, yet it regulates the sun and moon, right? That's from the classic of purity and stillness, all right? Second line, okay? All right, so the heavenly Tao does not have any form of familiar relationship with people, thus it cannot play favorites, right? Okay, so that's why in the Tao, some people say, 人情道, 人 means people, 情 means feelings, emotions, Tao, 人情道. That means the Tao that's based on human sentiments or emotions. That's not the real Tao. Okay, so that's deviant. That's deviation from the Tao. All right, so we have to be careful. All right, okay. Oh, he's part of the family or she's part of family, so therefore we treat them a little bit, more preferentially than whatever, non-family or whatever, or he's part of the temple, our temple, so we treat them more preferentially than another person from another temple or whatever. Okay, so that's, we have to be careful. Okay, but that's part of human nature. All right, okay, so we have to be careful about that. All right, okay, so the Tao encompasses all laws or principles, both natural and spiritual. However, things work in accordance with natural or spiritual laws. They are all part of the Tao. They are part of the natural functions of the Tao, which are non-attached and non-conditioned. All right, very important. All right, okay, so let's look at the last phrase. Okay, those with virtue, that is, the virtue qualities such as generosity or the generous of the heart, okay, the magnanimity, okay, or giving assistance without attachments, etc. They will end up with a positive life, even though they do not pray to any deities. It's just natural. That's how they will be rewarded, okay? They will be given back, okay? Reflect, okay? Because, all right, okay, so so the key is, you have to have virtue, all right, okay? So another second phase is that as long as you do good deeds, that's, virtuous deeds, the heavenly Tao will provide benefits to you, all right? That's another way of saying that. So, and why is that? Because that's the natural, impersonal, unbiased function of the Tao. That's the law of karma, right? Okay. So now, so this impersonal, unbiased, natural function of Tao, in this case, it's the law of karma, which quote unquote pays back the like for the like, right? So it's a reflection of the like and like. Those who have virtue will benefit. That's a karmic reward. While those without virtue will have negativity. That's a karmic retribution. Okay. So whether it is natural or spiritual laws, the Tao is emotionless and passionless. So the Tao cannot quote unquote like or quote unquote dislike you. The Tao does not quote unquote love or quote unquote hate you. It just is. Okay, the thusness, okay, idea. Therefore, the Tao cannot play favorites. Okay, so those without virtue, that's always demanding payment, right, end up with negativity due to the function of the Tao. That's the law of karma, not due to some kind of personal dislike by the Tao. All right. Okay, so this chapter points out a key point. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. The heavenly Tao has no favorites because it is universal, not because kind, compassionate, or virtuous people are favored by the Tao. There's no, okay, Tao's do that, okay? It's just because now there may be temporary fluctuations up and down. Like so we see, how come these kind, compassionate, or virtuous people are not being rewarded? It seems that they are being punished more, etc. Okay, but that's short term, that's temporary. Okay, that's not bad. But in the long run, in the long run, it could be, the entire life. It could span the entire or multiple lifetimes, etc. Okay, everything will work out. It has to be, because that's the way it works. That's how the Tao is. Remember the chapter, right? We talk about chapter 77. Heavenly Tao drawing a bow, same thing, right? The expansion and the contraction of the bow or whatever, that, the Tao of heaven reduces those of excess and adds to the deficient. right? Now that will happen in the long run, right? It doesn't necessarily happen in the short term, okay, or within, same idea, all right? Okay, so the Tao, okay, the Tao naturally functions without any emotions or biases. It just is. So those who have virtue, that's being benevolent, caring, all that, okay, all that, selfless, etc. Okay, the key is you have to, but with this virtue means it has to be non-conditioned, okay, or non-attached, okay, it has to be, right? Remember high virtue, right? Chapter 38, right? 38, right? High virtue, right? What's high virtue? What's low virtue, etc., right? Okay. They are like the sages who hold the left part of the contract, but do not demand payment from others, okay? While those without virtue hold the collections, always demand repayment from others. This is the way of contention, which will often lead to disputes. So this is not considered a good thing or ideal. So this connects to the first line of chapter, okay? Okay, where after settling a great dispute or contention, there's still lingering resentment. So how can this be considered as good, right? So it is more ideal not to get into a dispute in the first place. Thus, sages rise above contention. This is the virtue of non-contention. It is the highest harmony, the highest principle of sages, right? That's chapter 68, right? Okay, so where the lending and borrowing process is a metaphor for all the exchanges and interactions between people in life. So on the externally, where the sages hold the left part of the contract, but does not demand repayment from others, that sages are the lender, not the collector. That's a metaphor for sages providing assistance to everyone unconditionally, without any expectations of payback and without attachments. So on the internally, that's our Buddha nature. That's the sage within that provides all its benefits, its wisdom, etc., its uses without asking for anything in return, okay? Where those with virtue hold the contract is a metaphor for those who give assistance unconditionally and without attachments and do not demand payment like the sages. So they have virtue. That's called virtue, true virtue, okay? Or high virtue. While those who without virtue hold the collections is a metaphor for those who provide assistance but with attachments or conditions due to their egos or their need for recognitions or visibility or etc., whatever. So therefore they lack virtue, okay? Where generosity leads to a life of abundance and prosperity. This is the natural function of the Tao, which has no favorites. And externally, the Tao always benefits those who are generous or kind, or virtuous, and internally, where those who are in accordance with the Buddha nature, that's sage, are with the Tao. You are one with the Tao. So this is to hold the left part. This is to hold the left part of the contract. Okay. All right. So this is a relatively short chapter. I think I'm done a little bit ahead of time. All right. So this concludes chapter 79. We are more than 97% there. We got 2 more chapters, okay, before we finish. All right, so if I've said anything wrong or incorrect, I ask for the Buddha's and Lao Tzu's correction and guidance and for everybody's guidance. Okay, thank you, everybody.